the sun was coming out, it was a bank holiday, and I just see all my mates all talking, and they're like, oh, don't you miss like a couple of cold beers like in a beer garden? I'm like, but that doesn't interest me. I don't want a couple of cold beers in a beer garden. I want to get fucked up. Right? So as soon as I think like that, I'm like, why do I want to get fucked up? What do I want to do? And look at the words we use. Escape. Yeah? So it's like a bit of escapism. I want to get wasted. I want to get fucked. I want to get smashed. These are all negative words.
So is there a point where you'll be like, in 2 years or something, I might allow myself a couple of pints, or do you think they'll be like, no, never?
I can't make conscious decisions 4 Stellas in. Like, I can't make good decisions. You asking 4 Stella me to make a good decision is
neurochemically you're changing,
Yeah, but not just that, If someone else is making the decisions
100%.
after maybe 2 Stellas. Maybe 2 Stellas.
Yeah.
If you ask me before 2 Stellas, do I want to fucking get a bag of gear in and fucking a brass or something, like, I'll be like, what are you talking about? What are you talking 2 Stellas? I'm like, that's not a bad idea. Do you know what I mean?
Welcome to the Boardman Podcast. Today we've got Dapper Laughs, aka Daniel O'Reilly. I go right. I grew up with watching Dapper Laughs on. It was Vine, was like your
Vine
first.
Originally, yeah.
And you've been through this crazy like trajectory that we can hopefully talk about, from being a full-on comedian to getting full-on cancelled, to like now saying stuff that like is still really funny, but a lot of the stuff you're saying's like got a lot of meaning and substance behind it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we can talk about whatever you like, mate. I'm an open book. But yeah, it's been quite a journey, my friend.
Yeah. So what's going on? Where are you now? So you married? Just got married recently, right?
Just got married.
Congrats.
Thank you very much, man. It was a great wedding, from what I can remember of it. It was just before I went sober. Actually, I'm 6 months sober now.
Oh shit! Well done.
So I've been up and down with. I can never really have one or two. Do you know what I mean? I'm one of them people that. Are you looking at him? He's the same.
I am. And
1 or 2 in a packet comes out.
Yeah, exactly.
I saw your video. You were doing like the dance, and everything, and you're like sweating and hammered and overweight.
That's what you do when you get drunk. You dance.
I do. You film lots of similarities. Yeah. But to see you go from that to like boxing, we're all into boxing and everything's amazing.
Yeah, no, I had a complete sort of life change about 6 months ago. I'm over 200 days sober now, where I just had enough of the old me and like really, really focused on changing. And as a result, everything sort of changed. But I've been married, got 2 little baby girls, 4 and 7. I don't know. They're getting there.
I saw one of them. Yeah. Have you seen the one where you make one of your daughters a piece of toast?
Yeah.
That was so funny. Yeah,
they're both little princesses. 4 and 6. There you go. There you go. Don't worry, my missus.
I watched that reel where you were talking to them like they talk to you.
Yeah.
You start asking them question after question, but not really making a point.
It's hard being a dad because when you have kids, you don't know if other kids are like your kids, and you think they might be like retards or something. Do you know what I mean? But they're just kids. Sorry if there's any. But you don't know because they do. They just chat nonsense, repeat themselves. They're like, "Daddy, watch," and then they're doing something shit like jumping on 1 foot, and you know what I mean. So after a while, it's like watching Forrest Gump or something with a geezer.
How's having like the woman and children in your life? Does that like without getting too deep or quickly? Has it changed like everything? Obviously, I'm a big believer in drinking's just like the worst thing for you. So quitting drinking's amazing. But having a child and the wife, is that like?
For me, I was very selfish for many years. I'm very similar to, I think, a lot of the lads out there, where I was heavily involved in the culture of, working my ass off during the week hard and then smashing it at the weekend. Do you know what I mean? The weekend drinking, the weekend sesh. I never thought I had a problem because I was never alcohol dependent. I didn't wake up and reach for a bottle or want to get on the drugs, on the sesh, right? I never wanted that. It was just, once I started at the weekend, everything would go out the window. I wouldn't give a fuck what the missus said.
You were living for the weekend.
Yeah, 100%. And I wouldn't care what time.
And you couldn't stop?
No, I could stop, but I'd just be selfish. You know what I mean? If I wanted to go out on the smash, fuck the missus, fuck the kids, whatever. I've deserved it. I've earned it. I'm doing well. And my come downs and hangovers, because I've got ADHD as well. And I've learned a lot from it. Have you? You got it as well?
We're all suffering.
I love that.
I love it, yeah. It's great.
It's good to hyper-focus on things and creativity, if you're creative. But also, people with ADHD, they live in a dopamine deficit. I don't know if you know that. 80% of people with ADHD suffer with some form of like addictive tendencies, because we can be chasing that dopamine and we don't get the same level of like hit from alcohol and drugs. We have to consume more and we chase it more. I learned so much about it. But anyway, at the end of the day, it was just really fucking up my relationship with my wife. and I was spending my weekends on the couch instead of like handing them iPads instead of doing stuff with them. And I didn't want them to look back at me being hungover. Plus, I had a fucking good innings, man. I've been getting smashed since I was about 15.
How old are you now?
38, yeah.
Same age as me.
Yeah, so I'm just like, look, and more has happened for me in the last 6 months positively than has happened in the last 10 years. You know, you spoke about, getting cancelled and stuff. I was constantly trying to claw back my career. And over the last 2 years, I started my own film production company, started making films. So I've made I've made a independent crime film. We got it. It was one of the best on Amazon. We couldn't get a distributor because people were still a bit nervous about me. Shot another one. We're just about to go into shooting another one, and we got a big slate of about 6 or 7 films.
Wow.
And I was just like, all of these opportunities were happening, but I was just getting there, and then getting smashed, and like it was like I couldn't quite. I wasn't compounding those positive days. And now in the last 6 months, I managed to get like a 28-date tour, which I haven't had in 10 years. So that starts in January. 28 dates around the UK doing stand up. We've well over half sold. It's like 20,000 tickets.
We're definitely gonna come visit and watch it.
100%, half price for you lads, man. Depends how this podcast goes. Wait till we watch the edit. But yeah, man. So look, the film, my acting career is really popping off.
So you act and producing?
Yeah, acting. Yeah,
oh wow, man.
I played the lead in my first film I ever made, which was Fanged Up. It was a comedy horror, but it was shit.
Yeah, I know Fanged Up.
Yeah, you know Fanged Up. I was the lead in that, and I loved it. It was great, but it was comedy horror is like a real tricky genre. You know, Shaun of the Dead kind of topped it. But I love the film. It's great, but again, the Tesco's wouldn't take it because of my name. The distributors were and there's so many fucking boxes that have got to be ticked down to gender, everything. If you're cancelled, I mean, it's even. But my thinking is, if I keep upping the talent that I'm working next to, you know, and I'm not, you know, I've been the lead in a few. If I'm a small fish in a bigger pond and the talent's better and the budget's bigger, then at some point they can't say no. Do you know what I mean?
Do you not think, like, I mean, I don't know if I can get cancelled for saying this, but do you not think this cancel culture is just like disappearing now? Like it just doesn't. It seems like.
But Dapper was one of the first people.
I was the first.
You would have like started it, and it was all, you know, there was so much virtue signaling going on. The pendulum swung
100%.
So far that way with all of it, and it was a tiny fraction of people that were putting, you know, stuff on their Twitter bio, and now it's just coming back. But you were the first person. I was like, what is this cancelling? How can you cancel a human? And then it just went to lots of people.
Someone said it the other day. It was like, well, actually, you know, people just make mistakes. Like if you say that no one can ever make any more mistakes, that's what it is. That's just impossible.
That's the tough thing. That's the tough thing that I couldn't get my head around. I mean, it really, really fucked my mental health bad because I was like patient zero for cancel culture. Do you know what I mean? It was like, and for me, it was like because I didn't know what was going on, but I was very much like I said a lot of stupid shit. You know, I say things without thinking sometimes.
You'd have to speak as quick as you do. Like when I watch your content, because you are such a good content creator, when you're doing it, you're speaking so quick, you can't possibly either compute all of that perfectly. There's going to be stuff. And also, to be funny, it's got to be a bit out there.
And also I'm working class. So the way that I articulate things, I think your class has got a massive, you know, you'll see me say things and get absolutely vilified in the press, but then you'll see Jimmy Carr say the same thing or even worse, actually, much worse. And it's different because the press and, you know, certain publications, journalists, and just the media in general, if they look at someone that's upper class saying something offensive, they think they're being ironic. But when they look at the working class, they think that we're too stupid to be being ironic.
A lot of comedians compare that with Dave Chappelle, because Dave Chappelle is uncancelable. Like it's just a known thing. He speaks so articulate and he's so built. He does, and because he doesn't care at all, he's not reliant on the system at all. And he's the only comedian in that position. Even Kevin Hart.
How long ago was it that you were cancelled, and what was the specific thing that pulled it down?
So did you want to say something?
No, I was just going to say, like your target audience is almost judgmental. Because, basically that.
It's difficult. I'll come to that for you, but it is very difficult because another point that I just want to clarify on this is when I got what it was my TV show. Anyway, rubbed people up the wrong way. Dapper Laughs as a character was supposed to. You know, it was supposed to really push the boundary. It was like, it was stereotyping lad humour, right? So it was an exaggeration of what I was like when I was a lad, when I was a teenager, you know, going out chasing birds, being a lad. And it was very much like what Sacha Baron Cohen done with Ali G, right?
Yeah.
But
he was fucking,
I mean, he pushed it, but it was very clear that was a character. It was 100% clear from what he wore, how he acted and exaggerated. The problem with me was I speak like this, I act like this, and it was filmed on a phone. So people just thought, you know, when I'm doing these, like there was one that caused a lot of problems, and I was like, excuse me, sweetheart, can I smell your fanny? And she's like, no, you can't. I'm like, it must be your fucking feet then. Ha! You know, it's a joke, right? It's a joke. But then they think that's a woman, right? But it ain't. That's another content creator. It's an actress, right? So, you know, it's a sketch that I formulated in order to get that shock reaction, and it's wordplay. It's wordplay. Can I smell your fanny? No, must be your feet. It's wordplay. But to the press and to the audience, that's sexual harassment. And I'm out glorifying sexual harassment and encouraging it. And when this was first happening, I was like, fucking hell, mate, I'm nailing this character because they think it's real. I'm fucking killing it. But then when it got well out of hand, 60,000 people started signing a petition to cancel my TV show. Because my TV show was I was teaching men how to chat up birds, right?
I remember.
So I'd take a geezer and I'd give him a makeover, change what he wore and that. I'd just give him some tips and that, and then we'd put hidden cameras in a bar and I'd go, because I used to be able to chat up girls back in the day with comedy and everything like that. So I'd go in and then I'd show him what to do and then he'd do it, and then whether it was a success, we had 6 different people. And essentially it was like a dating show, chat-up show. But the problem was that because of the content I'd done before, you know, I'd already roughed people up, I was considered misogynistic, and then this is what got me in trouble. The Guardian I think it was The Guardian, one of the newspapers done a big piece saying that my TV show was an almanac for rape culture. So
that's right.
I was teaching men. The TV show was essentially teaching men how to rape, and I read this before I was about to go on stage. I think it was at the Shepherd's Bush Empire or something like that. I was about to do a big show, and I was fucking fuming about it, you know, because my family's been affected by sexual violence, right? And although I was pushing the boundaries, being called someone that was like pro-rape, essentially, I was fucking fuming, and I went on stage and I was saying, like, if I wanted to create a TV show teaching men how to rape, I wouldn't have written 30. I wouldn't have written 6 30-minute episodes and spent 10 years building my career. I just would have done one minute episode and said, go down the road, get some duct tape, like that sort of thing. And then a woman at the front said, my friend Lucy loves you, she's gagging for a rape. And I went, what's that? She's gagging for a rape. And what they'd done was they cut and edited it. They clipped it. So it looked like I walked on stage and went, do you know what, guys? What you should, like a creepy old fucking man. Like literally, I was out trying to teach people to rape, and I walked on the stage and I was like, do you know what you should all do? Go down the road, get some duct tape, tie someone up, and she's gagging for a rape. And they put that out, and then that was it, mate.
And that's where this woke culture has sort of come from. They just want to target the negative side of that.
I hold my hands up. There's some things I shouldn't have been talking about, and I did push the line, but the level that it went to, I mean, you know, I lost everything. I got cancelled, TV show cancelled, management cancelled, I had a sold-out UK tour that was worth hundreds and hundreds of £1,000s for me. That got cancelled, brand deals dropped. Like I said, my manager dropped me. Then I lost my house. Then I lost all my money. Then my father died, all in the space of about two or 3 months.
I remember it was so brutal. And I remember you reacted and it hit you really hard. And obviously because of all that stuff happening. And I remember seeing it, I was like, fuck, this is really bad. Yeah. And it seemed to last a long time. It wasn't just like, right, you're cancelled. It just seemed to go on forever.
No, and I got to the point where I was like, right, I get it. I've done wrong, but what do you want me to do now? Cut me fucking arm off? Do you want me to get a geezer to follow me around with a bell going, here comes Shane, comedian, Dapper Laughs forever. I'm like, what's going on in this world? What are you teaching us? Are you saying that if you fuck up at work, you lose your job? You lose your job, right? But what, you should never apply for another fucking job again? Yeah. You lose your job, then you're not allowed to work. And it's fucking mental, innit, when you think about it. And the mad thing is, all of the people that signed the petitions and cancelled me and complained never went to the shows, didn't follow me on Instagram or Twitter or so, and they certainly weren't watching my TV show.
Small percentage of people.
And how did you sort of, after all that happened, how did you sort of come back up? Because I think it's sort of like a morning show. Because I hadn't seen it. It felt like a couple of years where it just disappeared.
Yeah, well, I did really. First of all, I wouldn't accept that I'd done wrong, because I did do wrong. I did say some mad shit, and I was pushing it. And now having daughters, I look back at why some people thought, well, he's influencing the wrong way. I get it. I couldn't get my head around the level that they fucking went for me, right? Yeah. Like, I felt like they wanted me to kill myself, really. Right. Like, that's what I thought. I thought, like, what do you want? When are you going to stop? And that's the level I got to. I was drinking and using drugs anyway. I mean, this is what I've learned. I've learned so much about this. But I was drinking and using drugs anyway. As a kid growing up, every weekend I was drinking, and there was the occasional sessions. But what I realised was that was a coping mechanism for me in life anyway, when things were going wrong. So when all that went wrong, I really started fucking drinking hard. I mean, and when my dad died, I was drinking solid. Like, looking back on it, it was scary. And the drugs were becoming less of a social thing, more of like an at-home thing, like a just getting through life thing.
Right.
And I managed to survive sort of that, and I had a suicide, like contemplated suicide in my darkest times. I rang the Samaritans.
Wow.
Yeah, it was dark, but I had kids at the same time, so I was going through becoming a father, and so I was really trying to fucking work on stop drinking because it was causing so much shit at home.
Yeah.
And I battled that for fucking years, and it was only, and the scariest thing is when you try and stop, because you think it's all right, and you think I'll just cut down, and then you cut down, and then, but you're still, loads of shit's still going wrong. You can't work properly, and then you realise you've got a problem, and that's when it really hits you. Like, not a problem, but a problem as in you can't
go cold turkey.
And you can't be successful and a good father and drink. And the problem is, as a man, sometimes that's grown up in that culture, you look at it and you're like, well, what else have I got if I can't fucking drink?
Yeah.
It's weird to even look at it now that I'm sober. Because I was like, what else have I got then if I can't get fucked on the weekends?
Yeah.
It's fucking hard work being a dad. It's hard work fucking being with you, married, like with you. Do you know what I mean? The relationship's hard work. It's hard work being a father. Work's hard work. No one fucking, I'm banging my head against the wall. The only thing I'm fucking enjoying is getting off me nut.
Yeah.
And now I've got to stop doing that.
Yeah. And you're good at it, right? Because not only are you good at getting drunk and everything else, you're like the centre of the attention. I saw you like when you were fucked in some of these videos, and you're like walking around and everyone's looking at you because you're famous from all this stuff. So you're going from that to something that is really fun.
Oh yeah.
And it's like Jordan Peterson says, like, if you want to stop boozing, you need to find something that is good, because boozing is fun. Like, the downsides are terrible, but when you do it, you're doing it to get drunk to have a good time, right? Yeah. So you got to find a very good replacement.
How did because I know you've done a lot of work with mental health, and it's still rare these days, men being able to talk about mental health, but especially your side of a man, because you're quite a masculine man, like you said, you come from a working class background. Like, where did the shift come with you setting up the podcast and talking about mental health?
The shift came from when I realised that I was fucked, right? Because what I was doing was I was convincing myself that everything was going to be all right with my work, but it never was. It was never changing. I was never getting the opportunities I wanted. No one was opening the doors for me. And we're fucking talking about like 6, 7 years, 8 years on. I mean, my social media was growing and my fan base was there, but I always had that insecurity that, the industry didn't want me and just my ego was fucked. It wasn't until that I realised that I was 1 step forward and 2 step backs, because I'm like trying to make progress, but then get fucked and arguing with my missus. And what it was once I admitted I had a problem, it took me a good few years to I tried to go sober, and then I thought, no, I'll be all right. I'll just come back on the drink, and then it turned back. So I battled it for about 2 years. And what it was I realised that the only way I was ever going to sort my life out is if I made it my content, right? Because what I was showing on Instagram wasn't a true reflection of my life. I was like, those short periods of time where my missus was happy, you know what I mean? And me and the kids were all right. I was like, hi guys, I'm being a dad and this is my family and da-da-da. And I could see the camera would come away and my missus would be like, this ain't real.
Who are you?
Yeah, this ain't real. And when I started feeling that, I was like, right, I have to fucking be honest here with my social media and just with myself. So you
used your flaws as your therapy, essentially. Yeah,
exactly. And I did. I started going to counselling and everything like that. That was the first step. I went counselling. Got admitted that I had a problem. Then I was battling that, and then I was like, then I started talking about it. I'm struggling with the drink, and I was never wanted to talk about the drugs because I just thought to myself, the big brands, the big distributors,
America.
That's what will go. Yeah.
Yeah. I never wanted to talk about cocaine. I never wanted to talk about drugs. I was just saying that I was drinking too much. And what it was when I started talking also about my downturns with my mental health, right? So. Or I'd like have paranoia, outbursts of like thinking my missus was cheating or just like the world is against me and just being angry for days and all of this shit. And I was thinking, I've got really bad mental illness. I've got depression and anxiety. But then I'd stop drinking for small periods of time and the colour would come back into life and everything would start being nice and I'd stop being a twat. And then I realised it was the drink and the drugs. So then I started talking to my audience about it, saying anyone else out there that's suffering with drink and drugs, I'm going through the same thing. And I started being honest. The drugs are fucking me up. Like, I'll either be drunk and high at the weekend, and then I'll spend the whole week on a come down, and just as I start feeling good, I'll do the same thing all over again. So my whole life, I'm living at on a level of just turmoil.
Yeah.
Was that hard, being like really like...
It was hard, but I
you know, talking to someone about it is one thing, telling someone you love, like your mum or your father, about it is another thing.
Her family.
Then posting it on like...
Her family and my family seeing it, that was hard. Yeah. But I'd fucked up a lot of stuff. I caused a lot of rows in our families and stuff like that. So then I just went, right, I ain't doing it no more. I'm going sober. And also I was openly talking about the bad stuff I'd done as a man. Do you know what I mean? The horrible things I'd said and the bad things I'd done and why.
Yeah, it's taking an accountability and you're being vulnerable in that position.
And I realised that it shed me of guilt. You know what I mean? It relieved me of guilt. And the reason, sorry, I'm just talking so much, but the reason the mental health stuff started was as a result of opening up and talking about it. Obviously, I've got hundreds of thousands of men that follow me. My inbox started filling up, mate, I'm going through the same thing. How do you do this? How do you do that? What do you think I should do in this situation? Oh, I want to kill myself, or I've lost my kids. You know, I can't see my kids because of the drunk and all this. And I was like overwhelmed by it. I was like, I can't reply to these people because...
But you're given the power to help people.
Yeah, but I couldn't reply individually because I weren't qualified, and some people were suicidal and stuff. And I was like, you know... So what I started doing was formulating my content around the questions I was getting asked. And then I created the group, Men and Their Emotions. I've got a group on Facebook, right? It's called Men and Their Emotions. And what it is...
Mates, isn't it?
Mates, yeah. And cool. What it is, I just done it on holiday, and I was still drinking at this point. I was on and off drinking. I was lying about drinking.
Right.
So I was on holiday, but I was saying I was sober, but I was still having a couple of beers here and there, but I weren't getting smashed.
Yeah.
But then but then the switch went and I went off the rails again.
Yeah.
So it was during this really hard time for me. So I was struggling, but I created this group on Facebook where lads can join the group. They can anonymously write something like, I'm addicted to gambling, drinking, or, you know, my missus won't let me see the kids, or I'm cheating, or whatever. Just really hard, or I'm suicidal. They can anonymously post, and then lads in the group can chip in, right?
Okay.
So I realised that it was a powerful thing because the lads in there that weren't writing nothing, saw they weren't on their own, because I shared a load of variety of things. So the lads in there, I've got like 19 moderators that help me with it now.
Wow.
But the lads in there realised they weren't on their own because other people are going through the same shit, and you can read advice even if you ain't got the guts to post. And you can help if you've been through something. That was a great thing for me. I love helping people that are going through the same thing.
How many people are in there, if you don't mind me asking?
38,000 lads now.
That's amazing. And mainly from the UK?
I'm not sure, but 38,000 lads. And then I started my podcast, and I guess I slowly become a bit of a mental health advocate for that stuff. But I just think that I've got a wealth of experience with casual drinking, you know, where lads don't think they've got a problem just because they're fucking their lives up on the weekend, and to show that there's life outside of it. Sobriety can be good.
I think the biggest thing with that is you're creating this community. Yeah, you're creating this community where, you know, you're talking from experience, and that is just such a powerful impact on these people. You know? Yeah,
I think you're right, mate. Yeah, I mean, would you go and sit in front of a therapist that's like a upper class, well spoken therapist?
Absolutely not.
That's been to medical school, whatever, and that's never been there at 4 o'clock in the morning ripping the end off his dick to fucking porn because he sniffed too much gear. It's true, isn't it? See what I mean? You need help, mate.
Took me a second to process that.
You were like, yeah, and he was like, is he fucking watching me?
No, because I've said to Jay, look, I take therapy all the time. Yeah. And whenever people say to me, do you take therapy? They think it's something wrong with it. Like, no, it's completely normal. So if someone in the US is not here, I say to them, like, if you ever want to use it for free, and I'll give it to you. Because it's not all...
In America, it's fucking part of the norm.
Well, no, do you know what? Everywhere else in the flipping world, apart from the UK, it's like, if you're not taking therapy, what are you doing? You should be.
Yeah.
Here, there's that sort of stereotype of you taking therapy is something wrong with you. It's not.
Yeah.
It's completely not.
And like lads feel embarrassed to do so. Do you know what I mean? Like to talk to someone about it.
Yeah, I've definitely divided my audience, you know, because I grew an audience on the sesh. I made songs about the sesh. I had a fucking top 20 hit called Proper Naughty Sesh. And it was like, you know...
got a sesh monster. Is it a sesh monster?
Yeah, the sesh gremlin.
Gremlin.
And, I mean, like a lot of my... everything that I create is a reflection of my life. Yeah. And that was true, you know? Yeah. It was like I weren't waking up in the morning doing drugs or drinking, but by fucking Wednesday or Thursday, the sesh gremlin would be going, you know what we want to do this weekend, don't you? And I'm like, shut the fuck up, man. Like my missus would be talking to me, but the voice would be going, tell her to fuck off, we're getting a package.
That mirrors your content, doesn't it? Because you like this and then like that.
That is 90% of like my friends growing up. Any group of lads I know, that's their life.
It's the
getting hammered as they can at the weekend, and then that does carry on into later life.
And that this is what I've learned, and this is really, you know, I don't want to be like a fucking guru or nothing like that, but and I've had to swallow that a lot of lads that follow me are like, fuck off, man, I don't want to listen to this stuff. I'm following, right? Because it's hard, like, some of my mates don't even knock about with me no more because it's like holding a mirror up to them. And the only time they want a mirror held up to them if it's covered in fucking cocaine. Do you know what I mean? They're on it. They're still on it. Don't hold a mirror up to me and there's lines on it. I'm like, no, but you hold
need to look at yourself.
Yeah, you hold a mirror up to some, by me saying I've got a fucking problem when these lads are going, you're a fucking rookie. What are you talking about? You ain't got a problem. And then they're like, fucking hell, mate. If you've got a problem, then I'm fucked. and that happens with my audience. But I had to swallow that because I thought, like, where's my direction? What am I giving back here? At the beginning of this year, I thought, now I've got my tour. I'm back in the commercial industry, essentially. All the venues 28 venues across the UK, they all fucking refused to take me at one point. Now they've all said yes. I'm like, I've got this opportunity. I'm making films now. Hopefully some of them are going to get distributed. There's talks about loads of other stuff. I'm on GB News doing a bit of TV.
Oh yeah, I saw that as well.
So I'm like, right, okay, don't panic.
You'll be fine with the films. They're just
That's amazing though. That's like, if you look at the line, like if you look at the parallel lines with the boozing and everything, it's obviously going like this. By the day you stop and everything goes up like that.
It's exactly right. And I swear to God, it's been 200 days, it's been 6 months, and more has happened in them 6 months than the last 10 years of me grafting. And it's not just karma. It's not just karma. It's the compounded effect of waking up in the morning, doing fitness. So my head is fucking switched on from the fitness, the natural buzz from the endorphins, boxing, and I mean that gets you fucking going, right? And then firing on all cylinders. So now I'm out there, but I'm out there everywhere in a positive way. When my stuff's going, it's all through people that have seen me. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So and I just think that my message simply is to put a fucking fork in it is. I was shitting myself about going sober just because simply I thought, what else have I got? Man, I love it so much. And just to basically show lads, look, once you get past the first couple of months and you get healthy habits, you know, you swap it for something positive. All right. It's great.
So 2 questions, if I can ask this, mate. And I've got to ask, just because, you know, we could keep the whole thing positive, but I also think it's good just to touch on them. I've done 6 months of no booze. I've done 2 years of no booze. I've done 4 months of no booze. And it's amazing being in that period, like where everything's on the up, right? And I hope that continues for you forever. That's my like. Do you see a point where, you know, because obviously consistency is the key, right? If you have like a variability graph like this, and then consistency always wins. So is there a point where you'll be like, in 2 years or something, I might allow myself a couple of pints, or do you think there'll be like, no, never? Or do you think there might be a point where you drop off once a year?
That's because you've dropped off.
I have dropped off. Yeah.
I think. Look, there's a couple of things to unpick there. First of all, that gives me anxiety even thinking about.
That's what I feel bad asking.
No, it's good. But I can't make conscious decisions 4 Stellas in. Like, I can't make good decisions. You asking 4 Stella me to make a good decision is
neurochemically you're changing. Yeah,
but not just that. Someone else is making the decisions 100%. After maybe 2 Stellas. Maybe 2 Stellas. If you ask me before 2 Stellas, do I want to fucking get a bag of gear in and fucking a brass or something, like, I'll be like, what are you talking about? What are you talking? 2 Stellas? I'm like, that's not a bad idea. Do you know what I mean? And also, no, but joking aside, that's a bit of an exaggeration. I've never done brasses. But the truth of it is that you knock away your inhibitions. I can't be sober unless I've made that decision. I'm never drinking again.
But you've replaced it with a positive thing.
So my thing is because listen, this is the way I look at it. My thing is this, right? I believe everyone's got a certain amount or an allocated certain amount of drugs and booze they can do in their life. And I've just done mine.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I did mine before you lot had done yours, but I don't know.
Yeah.
You look like you can fucking handle it. But no.
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate with both of you here because why? You know this. I did a period in university where I drank loads out 4 times a week, like did that, left it, was like, okay, that's done in my life, don't need that again. I can now go to a period where if I've worked really hard and I have a month off and I can go, okay, I'll have a drink, we'll go out, go to places, but I can just switch it off. Yeah. Why isn't there middle ground with like...
So I'll tell you why, and it might be a bit difficult to hear because some people drink like socially, but some people drink to get fucked. Right, and I don't know if you're the same as me. That's why it's not a difficult decision for me to make to say I'm never drinking again because when there's someone, I have to convince myself regularly. So on Friday,
you were drinking to get fucked.
The last bank holiday on Friday, the sun was coming out. It was a bank holiday, and I just see all my mates all talking, and they're like, "Oh, don't you miss like a couple of cold beers like in a beer garden?" I'm like, "But I don't. That doesn't interest me. I don't want a couple of cold beers in a beer garden. I want to get fucked up." Yeah. Right. So as soon as I think like that, I'm like, "Why do I want to get fucked up? What do I want to do?" And look at the words we use: escape. Yeah, so it's like a bit of escapism. I want to get wasted. I want to get fucked. I want to get smashed. These are all negative words.
That's scary to hear you say that.
It's
from my point of view.
My thinking really is scary. I've got a couple of nuggets that I keep thinking. Why do I want to spend the fucking weekend escaping my life? Yeah. Why not spend the weekend making the life I want so I don't have to fucking escape it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So ultimately, I'm happier now. It's slightly boring, but I'd rather the boredom. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you'd rather that than that.
That's really like for me. That's hard. That's hard to hear because if I ever, I don't drink much at all.
Yeah.
If I ever drink, it's like, okay, I deserve it, and it's for a cold beer in the sun, I'll have one night where I drink too much or whatever, and that's it. And I don't really drink much at all.
Yeah. I'd always say, and this is what I say to anyone that's thinking about it: is look, if I didn't have my wife and kids, then I wouldn't really give a shit. Yeah. And I would just drink, and I'd occasionally use drugs. I would. But my main motivation and what sticks in my mind is now that I've got 2 kids, I think when they're 16, what they're going to look back on me being hungover every weekend, right? So that's my motivation.
It's purpose for them.
Did you want kids, or was it like?
No, I didn't actually. My wife. She had polycystic ovaries, so we were told when I was only with her a couple of years that she could never have kids.
Right.
And this was part of what happened with me when my father died. It was like 2 days after she said she was pregnant, and my head went. It wasn't a positive thing for me. My head completely went. Yeah, it's one of my biggest regrets. One of my biggest shames in life. It's like around that time.
Not being happy about it?
Yeah, I decided. I don't mind being open and talking about it, but yeah, I decided at that time that I was going to check out. Do you know what I mean? That's how I felt. I had a bit of money left in my account, and I knew I was battling the drink and the drugs. And
what do you mean check out?
It's like I was just going to fucking spend my money and then.
Bow out sort of
thing.
What do you mean?
Nicolas Cage film.
Yeah, I was thinking about suicide.
Right, okay.
But like, it's weird because not like fucking planning it, just thinking to myself, I don't give a fuck if I die. So I'm going to, and then when she said she was pregnant, I was like, what the fuck? I don't want this. Like, honestly, I knew I was on self-destruct. So that was this, we actually broke up. I broke up with her, and it was the horriblest. When I look back on it, it's the most painful thing that I'd done. But luckily, when I went back and said, look, I'm in a fucking bad way. I want to do this. I want to be a good father. Can you help me? She came back, and it was the start of it. Yeah, I feel awful about it, but it was, my father had just died. And honestly, I just thought I was in this position when my dad died that I was right in the mix of getting cancelled. And then when my father died, I just had this thing where like I've tried to be nice, like in life. Like I'm trying to be nice, like, and you've done that, and then you've done that. I don't know who I was talking to, whether it's God or the universe, but I was like, well, fuck you then. Fuck you then. I'm like, watch what I fucking do now. I think that's bad. And then she's like, I'm pregnant. I'm like, fuck off and all. I just couldn't handle it. You know what I mean?
I went through a similar situation. Like my ex-partner who lives in America, and my daughter lives in America as well. Shit. She told me she got pregnant, and it was just like, right, fuck this. I do not.
Scary, isn't it?
Yeah, it was scary as fuck. And I was just like, right, I just want to walk away from this. But then I realised, right, okay, fuck me, I've got some responsibilities to own up to.
Yeah.
And
now
it's just about, of course, like, because obviously someone I can resonate with about that type of situation. So, it was just,
it's terrifying for me. It's terrifying for young men to the prospect of being a father.
Yeah, it really is.
And especially with you not having like a father figure similar to James and yourself.
Yeah.
And you just don't know. Like I was scared to.
You don't think you're worthy of it?
Yeah, I didn't think I was worthy of the title father, or just having my daughter or my kid call me dad. Like that was the scariest thing. Yeah. I was just like, shit. No,
I simply
there could be some good things that come from this.
Yeah, but you had to get your head around it.
Yeah,
right?
And I had to like basically think, right, I'm bringing this person into this world, and I just got to give all the positive things that I've experienced to then go, right, she's now set up to learn from my mistakes, to not make them at such a young age. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's hats off to you.
I was like, I looked at it like, oh right, this is another thing I'm going to fuck up then. Oh, so you're going to give me this to fuck up as well? I was like, what the fuck? What is going on, man? You take my you fuck my career, take my dad and give me a kid. I was like, fuck that, I ain't playing this game. Do you know what I mean? I had a really warped like feeling about, like I was really connected spiritually to something that was happening to me at the time. It was weird.
Right.
I saw it all rolling out in front of me like I wasn't involved in it, like I was watching it.
Right.
Sounds like it was the thing that saved you though in a weird way.
Yeah. And the cameras of the world were on it as well. So it was happening. Then I was reading about it. It was weird, man.
And then what changed to obviously seeing you online, you know, being a great dad and a husband, like what in that moment now, what said, you know what, I'm going to check in and I'm going to sort this out? Because at this point you're still boozing, right? Because you've only stopped for 6 months. So what was the change then?
My wife leaving me, saying she's going to leave. Yeah, because when you're up and down with drink and drugs and everything that's going on, it's everyone else's fault.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I was like, fuck off! I'm just enjoying myself, man.
Yeah. That's what life's about. Just having fun, right?
Yeah, like I'm just enjoying myself. And plus, look what I'm going through. Let me have a couple of fucking beers.
Yeah.
It wasn't until she was like, do you know what? Actually, fuck this. And I spent a bit of time away from her and the kids. And then all this stuff went into my mind. What, you know, she's a beautiful woman. You know, she's got her shit together. Like, how am I going to handle another man bringing up my kids? Like, do you know what I mean? How am I going to, while I'm drinking and doing drugs? And I was just like, I just saw it for what it was. And I just simply went, look, if that's the choice, drinking and drugs and going out and seeing my mates, or being a good father and having my family, then that's the choice I've got to make. So it is as simple as that.
Yeah.
You know, and now that I'm sober, I look at a lot of the lads and I feel for them that are in my groups. And
because you can see it from the outside in.
Too late. Some of them are too late. They've gone sober after they've lost everything.
Yeah.
And the hardest thing about sobriety is the clarity of your mistakes.
Yeah.
It's so hard. You can't hide from them because you can't drink.
And it puts you in a more vulnerable state of mind because you're then thinking, right, now I've really got nothing. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
But isn't it bad that I'm a comedian? We're talking about all this depression. It's interesting, I guess.
It's interesting because there's a saying that says, like, we mentioned it before, I don't know which philosopher it is, but it's like, only take advice from the man that you like respects.
Yeah.
And I respect you.
Thank you, mate.
And even though we don't know each other, but like I've followed everything you've done and I've seen everything and I've always related to you like a lot of people have.
Yeah.
So when you say it to me, it has meaning. Do you know what I mean? Whereas a lot of people can say stuff online and it's like, hold on. And obviously seeing you say it, I know it's authentic. And you might not want to share this, mate, so I apologise for asking.
But
right. Like, how did you know, without talking about your wife, like she was the right one? Because you had access to a lot of women, not only could you chat people up. I remember seeing all the videos. I used to think he's a good-looking guy. You could talk to anyone. You were boozing. You're successful. Like, what made you say, okay, I'm going to go with this person?
Well, before I was with her, I was kind of like, I was living. You know, I was enjoying the fame, getting a TV show, and I was
vicariously.
I was doing like fucking 2-3 personal appearances a week, and whatever. I was seeing different birds, and I was enjoying it. But with Shelley, it was a bit of not a long process. There was a bit of an overlap at the beginning with another bird that she didn't like. But I'll tell you how I knew she was the right one, because when we started seeing each other, there wasn't anyone else, right? So it was just us, right? But over a long period of time, like, put it this way, when she met me, I had my she met me on tour. She was a glamour model, right? She was like a topless model for the Daily Star and that. So I was backstage and they come and they put 2 dolly birds on my legs, both with their bangers out. And they were taking pictures to promote the tour. And she was one of them. I was like, you've got a lovely personality. She was like one of them. I was like, you staying for the show? I was like, do you know what I mean? 800 people out there all screaming my name. I was like, yeah, lovely. I'll take you for a drink after, innit? But the reason why I liked her is because it's quality, innit? Fuck, I've had some life, mate. That's why I don't mind going sober, because fucking I've lived it.
Yeah, just think back to those times.
Yeah. It's like the old wank bank, it's in there. Well, initially, because she didn't put out, Do you know what I mean? So
okay,
So
yeah,
you're
that's a
chasing it a
big
little
thing.
bit.
yeah, so that was, and I was right into my game and all of that stuff.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
First time I went back up to Manchester.
What do you mean didn't put it?
She didn't have sex with him on the first night.
Yeah, well, for ages, mate. So I went back up to Manchester where she was from, and I was doing another gig up there, big show, and I said, come to the show, and she wasn't interested in seeing the show because she'd already seen it before. Whereas normally,
so you know,
they'd be like, yeah, can I come backstage and and all that, but she was like, I've seen it. Yeah, the jokes weren't that good. Like, do you know what I mean? I was like, fucking hell, mate. Like, I'm on ITV too, you bitch. Not for long.
Not for long.
But then when she came to the hotel that night, she came with her friend. Do you know what I mean? Like, she didn't come on her own.
So all these little signs.
Yeah, I was like,
green flags.
Yeah, green flags. She's a proper bird. So, and then I was like, I will crack you.
I love hearing this stuff, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah, and then. But I had loads of money then as well. I had loads of money. Everything was going right.
Yeah.
And then we got together and we started seeing each other. And then within a year, she moved in. And then it was like, as soon as she moved in, she's like, hi, I'm part of your life. It's like, cancelled. Lost all my money. Yeah. My dad's dead. Can I come and stay at yours in Manchester? So I ended up moving up to Manchester in her end of the terrace, in their fucking box room
with her parents.
With her parents. I lost all my money and everything. I had a fucking Audi TT. On their drive with my fucking dog, my fucking pregnant missus. I'd lost my house, I'd lost all my money, lost all my bookings, couldn't work. I was just sitting there like that, fucking crying because my dad was dead. And she still stayed with me through that period.
Oh, so there we go.
And then I broke up with her during that period because I was heavy. She took me back, and then I done Big Brother, got a bit of dough, and then I started a load of businesses. I had a fucking touch. When I couldn't work, I started a few businesses, and one of them really, really popped off.
Right.
Bought us a house, started making good money, and then bought us then we fucking got a McLaren and fucking bought a bigger house, and then she's got nice handbags and she stayed with me all through the good bit, and then the alcoholism and the fucking all of that went completely out the window. During when we're at the happiest part of our lives, when we were getting married,
right.
I fucked all of that stuff up, and she gave me another chance to get sober, and
she stayed
what
with
a
you.
fucking woman and a story, man.
Yeah.
Okay, mate, thank you for telling me that, because that's when you're sort of guiding things in your own mind about who you might be, but that's an amazing story, man.
How
you're relating that to your ex you've just bumped into, innit? I can read you like a book,
mate. He needs. If you want to stay around for a couple of hours or days, give him some help.
Very interesting.
On the,
I feel those values are important as well. Yeah.
Definitely.
I'm going to flip it. You've been doing a bit of boxing.
Yeah.
I've seen you sparring.
Would you?
I love the sparring.
Yeah.
Would you fight? And if so, who? Who would you like? Would you fight? If so, who would you like to fight? I want to fight as well.
Yeah. Do you know what the mad thing is? I've been talking to Mams, which is KSI's manager.
Oh, yeah.
And he was trying to pair me up with a few different people for because where I box,
For the Misfits thing.
Yeah, for Misfits, and also I was speaking to the guys. There's another one. Kingpin, and I was meant to jump in as if anyone pulled out on that one.
Okay.
The thing is, where I've been going boxing, the lad that teaches me boxing, I've known him for years, and it's fucking hard, mate. When you go down there, everyone fucking spars twice a week, full on, and you all spar each other at different levels and stuff like that, and it's hard. It's not. There's no, and all of them lads are on fight camps. They're all on fight camps. So they're all they don't, no fucking around. And
there's no hiding.
No hiding from the sparring. If you watch some of my videos, I'm eating hard shots.
Yeah.
And
it's so much fun though, isn't it?
Yeah,
so
it's great.
Good. Yeah.
I mean, I look back on the videos of me sparring, first of all open, eating shots and da-da-da. And now when I go and spar, I'm like, look, it's cool, man. I open up a bit and then I close up and take it. And then I open up a bit. You don't always get it right, but I'm not terrified to spar now. I'm learning. When I spar now, I'll be like, right, I want to practice one specific thing and I'll keep working on that. Whereas before, I was just in there fighting for my life.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, just trying to fight to survive. Yeah.
I think it takes about 6 months for boxing to really click.
Yeah, I keep saying this to these two. If they just do it for 6 months, and really progress into it, you'll have a complete change.
Yeah, and your movement becomes natural. You're slipping without realising you're slipping.
Yeah.
But to me, really, it was an addiction straight away.
Right.
I needed something else. Yeah. So when I stopped the drinking, I was like, the nights were killing me, right? So the nights, the evenings, the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday nights were killing me.
Yeah.
So I was like, I can get up early. I can naturally get up early. So I was like, right, how early can I get up? How quickly can I start my day? So I was just starting at 4:30 every single morning. And I'd done that solid every single day for 4 months, 4:30. And then I was boxing 5 days a week at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And then I was training on the other 2 days. I lost a lot of weight. I lost nearly 2 stone. I got a film that's just about to come out now called Mr. Kiss, where I played a lead in it. I went to watch the screening of it and I was horrified. Like, I don't know how I'm going to promote the fucking thing because I'm like that. I've got a massive double chin. Yeah. Honestly, I'm fucking massive. And
it's weird, isn't it? I've done a film like that where we put on loads of weight and it's like... It's horrible. It's like, you just look at yourself and think, oh my God, it's just a different person.
It is. Yeah. And that was the thing, you know, you've got to do I had to do something else
in return.
In return, yeah. And I felt so good from it that it became a new addiction. And I think I like became obsessed and hyper-focused on that and a couple of other things. And I've just come out of it. I just went away to Mexico on a little holiday and I've just come back and now I'm like...
Did you do any boxing in Mexico?
No.
I've done some sparring and boxing in Mexico.
I didn't even leave the hotel, mate. In fucking Mexico, there's cocaine everywhere. I was like...
Which part of Mexico did you go to?
The bit with all the cocaine.
Cancun.
Yeah. All the Americans go, how you doing, man? Like, you're partying, you're partying. Fuck off, mate.
I went to Guadalajara and I just jumped into a gym there. I fucking love it. And it was, mate, just sparring like 6 rounds.
Hard.
Yeah.
They're so durable. So it's like, I was sparring one guy that was smaller than me. So if I hit him, it was setting him back. But it was just so. And I'm a come forward fighter anyway. But he was just like tearing into me every second. Who would you? Is there anyone you'd like to fight? Is there anyone you think? Do you know what?
I don't know really because I don't really watch it and follow it all, and it's really difficult to see anyone's standard because they all look pretty bad.
Yeah, especially on the Misfits and the YouTube boxers kind of thing. Yeah.
Anyone but like, I mean, KSI looks good. I wouldn't like to fight KSI personally myself or Jake Paul because I think the level, you know, I've been doing it for 6 months. You know, in the mornings and stuff like that, their fitness level must be fucking out of this world.
Yeah,
but anyone that's on the undercards, I'll kick fuck out of.
Yeah.
Take your gum shield, go to the fight, just in case you get pulled in.
But no, I think I'm 38, man. I think it's another level of fitness, isn't it?
So George Foreman was like,
I don't know about that though, because like you watched Mike Tyson do this little thing. I know obviously he's the best boxer in the world at the time, but he's 58, 57. You know, like people are fighting at like 50, 60. I think Fournier's like 41, 42. Mm-hmm. I think you can still, you know,
it depends what type of gym you're in. I go to a gym in Wales in Newport, and there's loads of pro boxers there. It's where Lee Salby used to train and everything. And it's you know, the fitness is the number one.
Yeah, I mean, I always find I even notice it if I'm 2 weeks off training and I go in for a spar. Yeah, and I always find that. I can box great in the first round. Second round, I'm like, I kind of can box a bit. Third round, I'm just trying to survive. Yeah. Like, that's my level. You know, fourth round, I'm fucked.
Yeah. Are you finding now that you mix? Because I'm super stoked that you're doing the acting. Do you find now you're mixing the acting, the comedy, and the personality together? Yeah. Well, and is it building into kind of one?
Yeah. I mean, I've done acting originally, right? But when I done musical theatre and at college and acting, and then I come out and I done it was like a BTEC National Diploma in Performing Arts.
Yeah,
and then I love it, mate. That's where everyone that couldn't read and write went. You know? Do you know what I mean?
Everyone. BTEC National Diploma.
Yeah.
In Dagenham College.
Performing Arts.
Okay. Yeah. What are you going to be? I don't know.
I can't read and write.
Yeah. BTEC. It's quality, isn't it? Like, that's where all the fit birds went, though.
The reason why we did it, didn't we?
Yeah. But I always wanted to be an actor. I auditioned for everything. Grange Hill, EastEnders, all that stuff back in the day. Nice. But I was very much an animated overactor. I got told a few times that I was overacting and should try comedy, right? So that's what I did. I went on to start doing stand up and everything like that. But when I'm doing my sketches, that's acting, right? Like all my characters, Sesh Gremlin, like I had Sesh Gremlin, Kid Frankie.
The drug dealer, Kid Frankie.
It's all acting, right? It's all acting. And that's why when people go, "Oh, you're doing films, you're not an actor," I'm like, "Well, what do you think you're watching? A fucking documentary on my Instagram?" Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I love, and now I'm going to be doing my first serious piece because all my stuff's been comedy or gangster comedy.
Comedy's so hard though. Comedy's so hard. And I remember like the first thing I got told when I did a short film was like, "Look, you're moving too much. Less is more. Just stop. Just stand there."
It's all in the eyes, isn't it? And the fucking eyebrows and that.
Read the lines and that's it. But comedy's difficult. Is that like once you've done some of the acting? Is that now like you've obviously found comedy as your sort of safe haven? But is there an urge now to do something serious and go actually? Maybe I want to do something like
I've written a film called Sessions, right? And it's very much everything that I've been through compacted into sort of a dramatisation of it. But it starts off with. It basically follows a guy that's battling with addiction, right? It's when the party turns dark
Right.
in your life. Because basically what happened to me, the party started turning dark. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't a party no more.
Yeah.
But I was still treating it as a party. And it follows this geezer where he loses everything. But I'm narrating it. So it starts off, I'm talking about what's going on. You see him at his wedding, fucking it all up. Everything's slowly falling apart. Right. But then the narration carries on and it goes into a counselling session. So you realise that whenever you're hearing the narrator, he's talking to his counsellor.
Smart. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
So it's called sessions, you know, like the session and the session.
Yeah.
And what it is basically is his friend attempts to commit suicide, and because his friend's on the sesh as well, and he goes to his friend like, "What are you doing?" And his friend's like, "I've had enough. I can't fucking handle it." But my character continues using and everything and drinking, and he slowly loses everything throughout his life. And every time he's having a session, his friend that attempted to commit suicide is like sort of showing up. And long story, like telling him not to. Long story short is at the end of the film, in the session with the counsellor, the counsellor's like, "Look, come on, you've got to admit it. You've got to say it out loud." And my character sort of says like, he died. So the guy that attempted to commit suicide did die. And every time I was getting on the gear, I was having like psychosis and seeing him. So I couldn't stop because I wanted to see him.
Wow, it's a bit of Fight Club in that.
So it gives me a little bit like, but I'm writing it with this guy.
Man, that's so creative.
Yeah, and I'm right, but it's been hard because I'm drawing from like all the shit I've done to my missus, all the shit I've done. That's what it is, and I'm looking in the group at why the men want to kill themselves for the reasons, and one of the main reasons that men want to kill themselves or get to the point of killing themselves is shame. Yeah. It's like it's shame and regret. It's like they pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed, and normally a lot of the time cocaine's involved. You know, you know that deep dark despair when you're on a come down or whatever, like. You know, I know a story of someone that he just got on a session in the morning. He was meant to be at his daughter's christening, but he couldn't handle it because he'd gone the whole night through. He was somewhere in just session and just to come down, and it was too much, and that's why he killed himself. And it's like, it's dark. Wow. It's such a dark thing. Yeah, you don't realise how far the drink and the drugs can push you if you're shameful about something.
Yeah. It's good you're putting all that down though, because the writing, you always take it from. You always take it from various experiences. Yeah. I did exactly the same. Prize Fire. Russell Crowe's character was based on my nan. Like crazy. Like just because I had these vivid like experiences of her, and she was a really tough character. So it's really good that you're taking those experiences, putting them into a really great form, and then obviously turning into something as well.
How did you write that then? I didn't know that. How did you get? So what did you do? Just take it to. I
started writing it 10 years ago and just built it all together. Kept pushing. Everyone kept saying no.
Yeah, it's hard,
pushing. But a lot of it was based on true story, but a lot of it was built through my own experiences.
Yeah. You got to dramatise your own stuff. Yeah.
And it'd be like, right, okay, I need to write that character. That character's real and alive, but actually I can relate. That character that's real alive that we know a little bit about is also similar to my nan or whoever. So it's like very interesting.
That's the film I'd go and watch, man, if you were the producer and the actor in it. Like knowing what you've been through, knowing how like good you are at making content. That's the film I'd go and watch.
Thank you, mate. Yeah, I'm at the stage of it now where it's quite slapstick just because of the way I write it. So I need to give it to someone else to
polish it up
and make it, you know.
We'll have to connect with all that.
Like, how long have we been talking for?
I don't know. How long?
That's flowed really nicely.
How long have we done? Mike?
Nearly an hour and a half.
Okay,
yeah.
Didn't know that was a lot.
Should we wrap it up then?
I don't want to, but I feel bad taking Dapper's time. So.
I'm all right. If there's anything else you want to chat, I'm enjoying it. But
what was that, mate? What the sketch like where you did Jimmy over the
Jimmy
fence?
Steve.
Where did that come from? Because like it was so spot on. I was reading the papers behind it, and you were getting all the bits bang on.
Yeah, I would. Sometimes I can see the clues, right? So like I can see what the nation's saying, and it's just comedy's all about finding another angle for it. So for me, I wanted to show people how dumb the government think we are.
Yeah.
So and my way of doing that is by two really thick fucking people having a conversation about what the government said. Oh my God, he said this, so it must mean that. And mate, it means that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
and over the fence to
and the fence like two neighbours. I mean, the first one was fucking outrageous. I'd done, and what I always find when I create these sketches and characters is it starts like out in the atmosphere, it's fucking wild, and then slowly it sort of comes down to reality. Because the first one was just two geezers with like massive beards, and he's like, "How long have you been in there? Do you remember the pub?" And the other one's like, "The pub? What's that?"
I thought that was great. That one. That's probably my favourite one.
And I was thinking of all the things that everyone will relate to, like fucking my missus was making sourdough every fucking day and watching Joe Wicks in the morning. So he was like, "Is she watching Joe Wicks?" I'm like, every day. Do you know what I mean?
There's those conversations we were having.
Oh, man. That's probably the best comedy sketch of all time. It's so
It's like
good.
forgetting what a pub is and all that.
Yeah, and I've done one actually when we were allowed back in the pub with that same character coming in the pub, like walking in, and the landlord was like, all right, man. He's like, what is this place? And the guy's like, it's a pub, come in, you're safe. Will my missus know? You'll be all right. He was like... But yeah, man, it was...
one of my favourite stuff was the Kid Frankie that you did.
Yeah, Kid Frankie.
Yeah, absolutely hilarious. Because I was at school and I was like...
There was always
I could relate to so many things, which just being a drug dealer.
Yeah.
Just like,
there was always someone that's got... I used to do that. I used to nick fucking big boxes of sweets from like Asda or Carp or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I grew up on a council estate. So I used to go like... And I was skint. My family was fucking... poor. So I used to go in like Tesco's and that, and I used to fucking nip, the plastic flappy curtains. Nick in there and get a fucking box of Kit Kats, mate. I was out of there. Then I'd be in school flogging them. But I'd stand by the fucking chocolate machine at lunchtime, go, don't worry about that, have that 10p cheaper. And I used to fucking sell them all. Do you know what I mean?
It's good, mate. It's good. The other one you did the other day was, now it was is it the Dalai Lama? Was it
Dalai Lama? Yeah, getting the kid to suck his tongue.
Yeah. Can you just keep on doing the real ones, because it's like you're adding satire, but it means something. So it's like opening people's eyes to it.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, and like I was going to say about the coronation. That's what I was saying. I mean, like I done one yesterday, Jim and Steve over the fence, and it didn't really quite connect. It done all right, but it didn't. I put it on my Facebook and TikTok. I normally test them on Facebook and TikTok, and if it does well, then I'll put it on Instagram.
Why is that? Why did you test it on Facebook?
Well, I just feel like Facebook...
Different audience? Or?
Yeah, like Facebook is kind of like my... Facebook's like my safe place. I don't know why. There's only like 250,000 people on there, but sometimes it goes mad. But Facebook's like my safe place. I'll test it, and I don't really give a fuck, weirdly, what people think on Facebook. And TikTok's like... even though I've nearly got 1 million people on TikTok, I don't really see TikTok as like... fans, because I feel like they're
just consuming the content.
They just and your video only goes out if it goes viral. So someone sees a video and you go, oh right, yeah, that's fine. And I only do like sketches on there, and they'll follow you. So it's like 1 million people have followed me through seeing my videos. But Instagram, I feel like they're tuned into my life. They follow my story. My kids are on there and everything. So I checked it. It's all right for them. And I've done one on the coronation, just basically saying like, it's like God save the king, but it's like, well, if God's going to save someone, what about the 14 million people in fucking that are living in poverty, or all the kids that are fucking starving, or the people that can't heat their home? It's not going to cost 100 million to do this. To what? Wave a flag at fucking Jimmy Savile's mate. You're like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? I put it up, and some people are like, no, we're actually quite looking forward to it. I was like, oh shit. But because I was in two minds. I'm like,
was he Jimmy Savile's mate?
Of course he was. He used to love him, didn't he?
Jimmy Savile got the sword over the thing. He was an OBE or whatever.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing is, like, when you look at it and you think, okay, there's like, I think there's 2.5 million pensioners in the UK and a lot that are living in poverty. And you're like, hold on, their electricity bills are going up, everything because of the decisions the government are making, but then they'll spend 100 million on it just doesn't.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
How much is it actually costing? Is it costing a stupid amount of money?
Mate, it's 100 million. Yeah, I looked into it all, and like for me, for instance, I've got a big house, right? I bought a big house now when things started going well, but at the end, like in November, I come off a fixed term and my fucking mortgage is going to triple, mate, right? And there's other people out there that are living like wage to wage, that have got like a 300 or 200 pound buffer. They're fucked, right?
Yeah. Living hand to mouth. Like,
how do you think they feel watching that? They don't give a fuck about it. And people say it's tourism. Harry Potter's good for tourism, but would you pay him to fucking rule us? No. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That's how my mind works. Yeah. I'm like, I thought I've got an answer for everything. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, and that's what I want people to see, the disparity, right? That's all this money is going in the wrong places, basically.
Yeah. That's exactly it. You can't pay our nurses, but you pay 100 million to promote a geezer that's worth 1.8 billion.
We're sending 2.8 billion a year to Ukraine now, which would solve basically poverty in the UK. So I'm not saying anything against Ukraine or anything, because it's another subject. But yeah, it just really is if everyone was to stop paying tax for 6 months in the UK, it would all stop. So that's another discussion.
Well, there's a big thing about like every country now printing money, and more money's been printed for now since COVID. It's like, well, why print money? Just there's no point paying tax if you're going to print money. It doesn't make any sense.
It's crazy, man.
Mate, I love how quick you are as well. I don't want us to sound like rude, but you're a proper geezer. Yeah. But your brain works really quick.
Yeah.
You're quick, like super smart.
You couldn't be.
With some things, but I'll tell you what the problem is with that is it don't stop. Do you know what I mean? That's the ADHD.
Constantly,
it's the same. Yeah.
When I go home, like for instance, my mum was down this weekend, and I had to clear my plate of everything. And like Saturday all day sitting in my house was fucking murder, mate. Honestly, it is. It's murder. Just sitting there, I'm like, I'll go pick up my phone. My missus is like,
You like a,
what
you
do
like
you want me to do?
If you got like the pigeon head, really, just like,
Talk
it's
to
like
your mum. I'm like, I fucking know her for years. What the fuck do you want me to say? Like, yeah.
You don't just get somewhere like by fluke. You've got to think about it and make the right decision.
Just got those urges.
no, but his brain is super quick, and it's
Last
just
thing, what's next then? Like, is it the producing and the films and the TV? Is that the next thing? Anything else in the future lined up?
Gonna get in some of his films. Hopefully.
Yeah, boy.
Good. Fucking look good.
He put me in one of his films with Russell Crowe.
Yeah,
I put you in 2 films. You forgot about that. Put you in 2 films.
Oh, 2 films. Oh, yeah, Duke as well. Yeah.
Remember the gay waitress? Waiter you paid?
Yeah, I wasn't gay in it.
He was gay.
Was I?
You were totally gay.
Because I wasn't even acting.
He went full on with it as well. He had very small dialogue. So James, you're just walking in a scene with Timothy Spall and Peter Stormare.
No, I had a lot of dialogue in that film.
Yeah.
For me,
Just say
anyway.
the line. It's like, what?
Do you know what picture in your films you put him in?
Yeah, but tell him about Duke. He doesn't want to know. He kept doing these scenes, and Tim Spall.
I took it seriously at the time.
He took it so seriously.
I took it very seriously.
You know what he did? He went to the Ritz to work as a waiter, just to go through the
Yeah, I
experience.
got a job at the Ritz.
Yeah, and
Really?
we were living
That's
together.
amazing.
I was serving everybody.
We were living together. I'd get up to make tea in Malta. He's like, no, I'll make a few so I can practice making tea as a waiter. He'd come over and give me tea at night.
That's brilliant.
I know, I was laughing my head off.
You go,
And every time he got on the scene with Tim Spall and Peter Stormare, he'd walk away like this and rub his face. I said, James, what are you doing? He said, they've just spat in my face again.
Because they were shouting.
Case like that, they didn't do that in the Ritz. I don't know what to do.
And he had lines. So it'd be Tim Spall and Peter Stormare. Tim's like, an old school, veteran, and Peter Stormare's like wild and he'll flick you in the stomach.
it must have been scary.
Yeah, and he James would have lines, and they would just be like, they've talked over my lines again. So these lines would get cut by them. And they were spitting in his face. It was a good experience.
Yeah, it's a good experience. Yeah.
Scary though, right?
Yeah. I did a load of classes and stuff for a year. He told me about it, so I was like, I'm going to take. No point doing it in halves. So I did.
Are you going to do any more?
Do you know what? I've sort of because of the stuff I mentioned about the way I see Hollywood a little bit now not sticking up for what they believe in. And unless you go along the lines of what the narrative is, they don't really, like it so much. So I was a bit off it, but I had an amazing experience with, I did a whole day with Russell Crowe filming, which I actually loved it. And Matt's always pushing me back. Like, my love is science. So I'm doing my physics degree. I do 3.5 hours every day.
Wow.
So to go from that, and I've got another business, sort of across back will be a thing. But every time
you love it. You love it.
I
You love it.
Yeah,
I do.
It's the best thing. It's magical, isn't it? Being on set.
It's the best
amazing.
thing.
It's amazing.
It's the best thing in the world. And,
I think-
and just focusing on the acting is like even a dream.
But I think
when you're
like-
not producing or writing, it's like
You've got to make it a priority. Do you know what I mean? And it's just not at the moment. But maybe I'll get it back when we.
Or you
start
just got to
doing
put yourself in the right place at the right time. So
Just
sometimes you just got to react on intuition, gut, put yourself in the right place, the right time.
Yeah.
And things will flourish.
You've got those comedy shows coming up now, and how do you balance? You started this movement, sobriety, and how are you balancing still being active and involved with that, as well as and all those people that are still messaging you about going through hard times?
I feel like what I've done is my podcast. I just direct everyone to the podcast. My podcast, Menace to Sobriety, is my work. It's like when you go sober, you get a. I'm so glad that all of this happened to me. By the way, I'm so glad that I ended up abusing alcohol and drugs. I'm very pleased with it because it makes me feel like I've got a whole nother side to my character that I can talk like I could sit here and talk about cancel culture all day long and being on TV and getting thrown off and having followers and being Facebook famous or whatever and it doesn't interest me, but. Because I've lived it. But now that I have this whole other side of something that I've experienced, I'm giving back, I love it. But I have to compartmentalize it because I am a comedian. So that's what my podcast is for and that group. And that's my work. I believe that everything I'm doing right now is karma. Do you know what I mean? So the good things are happening to me because I'm giving back. So I just focus on just doing the podcast weekly and then
that's really good, man.
Stay safe.
That's amazing.
Mate, thanks a lot, Dan, man. I really appreciate it. So we've taken a lot of your time, but mate, what a wicked chat.
It's been great, man.
Yeah, it's
good, man.
I don't know what I've said, but fuck.
It's been entertaining throughout.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right.
Having you on.
Dapper Laughs. Thank you, man.
Thanks.
Cheers, mate.
Mate.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you.